Well, thank you so much for joining me once again on a Thoughtful Thursday here. I hope you find this installment helpful, and I hope that there's some insight here. Today I'd like to talk about the wisdom that can be found within our saboteur. If you're not familiar with the term of a saboteur, it's the parts of ourselves that can kind of come up, not just kind of, but can and will come up for each one of us to block us in ways when we're trying to achieve our best selves. These can oftentimes be habit patterns that have been formed to protect ourselves, especially habit patterns formed at a young age in childhood, that then show up in different ways in our lives. And this can be pretty heavy stuff to work with. First of all, becoming aware of the saboteur, as they oftentimes live in our blind spots. And that can be something that can come to light through journaling, through coaching, therapy, even talking with a friend, insight, meditation. These areas are a great way to kind of explore what might be coming up as a block, what this part of yourself that kind of ruins the party when things are really good for you. And this shows up for people in so many ways. One way that I'll just use as an example is people often find themselves with their saboteur around asking for their worth. It might be within a job that they're already established in and they're trying to move up and asking for a raise or a new position. They might find that as an entrepreneur, they're not necessarily asking for the dollar amount that they're valued at, and they might have a hard time negotiating the questions and negotiating the ability to ask for more. This is something I'm sure most of us can relate to and have been through at least at one point in our lives, if we're not currently working with that. That's one element, and I'm going to use that as an example because it's very clear. Now, we could just say that the saboteur is a series of habit patterns that are now causing our life to derail or not go the way that we want, and leave it at that. And though there's truth to that, I don't know if there's much functionality out of that, of just becoming aware of it and kind of putting it in a box. In fact, I think the saboteur likes to be in the shadow and likes to just have it be said as that and like something that we can't deal with. There may be schools of thought around kind of trying to take it head on and wrestle with it and really just push through it, make that saboteur relinquish its grip on us and change life. And I think that there can be value in that as well, and that may be some people's path. It's a bit of work, though. I've tried that. It's a struggle, and maybe with a warrior's heart, and if that's really your calling, that can be a thing to do. But you're going to have some time for it, and really put in the effort to really break that and change that. I'd like to offer another alternative. And this is a way to explore oneself and become more aware of oneself in all our aspects, to coming into more integrity. If we have this part of ourselves that we're not aware of as to why it may be the saboteur may be causing these problems in our life, why don't we just have a conversation with that part of ourselves instead? Just like we would if we had two friends, a friend that was really outgoing and gung-ho and doing a lot of great stuff within their lives, that part of ourselves that wants to ask for the raise or ask for our value or, ask the person out that we want, get to the weight that we want, that part of ourselves, the part that wants to achieve the best things for ourselves. That's a friend. Then we have another friend who maybe is apathetic, doesn't want to get off the couch, maybe thinks this doesn't worthwhile, maybe thinks, all that's already been done, I've tried before in the past, it never works, this pessimistic naysayer. Now, if these were two good friends and they were two people that had to come to, I don't know, something important in your life, your wedding, your graduation, a family reunion, and they had to be there together, and they had to see eye to eye. Do you think that there might be something that could be learned from the saboteur? From that part of ourselves that we deem as less than, as lazy, as apathetic, as being negative, and that we put in a corner? Maybe there's wisdom there. I know that in my explorations I've found that part of the saboteur from me actually is just scared. It actually wants the best as well, but sees the path of doing nothing, in the case of being apathetic, as a way to hijack around achieving. Meaning that if I just don't do the thing, then there's never going to be a chance for me to fail at it. It's actually a pretty smart frame of logic, you know. If a friend said that to me, I'd say, well, that's utilizing your brain power in a pretty specific way. Do I think it's the highest functioning? No. And then maybe asking that part of ourselves that is the higher achiever, if it was to step down off of its high horse and really want to just tackle the world and make everything happen, if it listened to this other part of ourselves, the saboteur, what wisdom could be gained? What middle path is there? Maybe there's a space where you find that being apathetic within a confine is appropriate. Or maybe there's things that just simply aren't worth your time. And then there are things that are really worth your time. You may have a conversation here that's going to bring up a wealth of knowledge and information that can be subjugated to the shadow. And it may bring up past traumas, and it may bring up some stuff that feels scary to approach. And if that's the case, I do recommend finding professional help with a therapist and navigating that conversation with them. But if this feels like something that you're confident with, journaling about it and kind of having the two different sides of yourself journal back and forth, or visualizing with eyes closed, having this conversation with these two different parts of yourself, and see if you can find a way for them to come together to achieve and find the wisdom in both of them. Well, I hope you find this thought process and this framework helpful. Please respond with any comments or questions, anything down below here. And of course, reach out on all the social media areas to connect with me more. I want to thank you for taking the time to have a thoughtful Thursday with me. Have a blessed day. Thanks.